That. Okay. So, I'm sharing screens and all that stuff. Sorry, everybody watching this. Welcome. This is week 28. Is that right, Kelly? Kelly's got to keep me straight. Uh, I tried to get all of the content published and ready for you all over the break in case you wanted to work on it. 28's right, Kelly?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's all good
I
because
thought I threw you off. I really
yeah, we
did.
had a
I
whole
felt bad.
thing email back and forth about, oh, what's this? I thought it was I thought we did 28 already, but no, we haven't. We're doing it now. Simon says for week 28, we're talking about different types of assessments. Place a wood post into position to support the final structure. I'm assuming that's a reference to the assessments. So it's assessments is something like a final after you've learned all the things. This is where we need to test to see if you really understood it or if you really know how to do it. Um, if I read here the introduction, welcome to week 28. We're focused on placing the wood post into position to support the final structure of your assessments. Just as a single post can brace an entire build, a balanced mix of diagnostic, formative, summative, and performance-based assessments lends stability and variety to your course. By diversifying the assessment methods, you give your students multiple ways to demonstrate their learning, practice new skills, and stay engaged. So, for those that aren't aware of these different types of assessments, that's what we're going to be focusing on. I'm sure you all are use and have some sort of summative assessment in your course, but I'm going to make an argument today about why I think formative assessments are pretty great. So our objective, integrate a balanced range of assessment types and methods that scaffold student mastery, create opportunities for practice, and fairly measure each learner's progress. Not a very good objective or outcome because it's got multiple pieces to it, but if I were to try to encapsulate it all into one thing, that's what we're trying to do. This is a communication CLO, CWLO, if I were to classify it. And then the program learning outcomes. So the matching skill standard would be create, evaluate, and modify assessments, obviously, since we're talking about assessments. And for this course, a balanced variety of assessments is what we are going for. We got another guest here for us today. Nice. Always appreciate when Kat can join us. Hey, Kat, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Happy to see you. Okay, so our indicator here is 3.3a, which means our standard here, 3.3 balanced variety of assessments. Um, as I said up top, these are the different kinds of assessments that we're going to be looking at. And then I'm hoping that you all can share some examples, either verbally or if you have a course up and you want to show um, what it looks like, how your students would see it. I'm sure that would be beneficial to anybody who's watching this. Okay, so here are the different kinds of assessments. I'm going to put this link into the chat so you all can have quick reference. And actually, I'm hoping that if since there's just joined us, this cat that adds a total of four. Maybe we can have each of you participate and read one of these descriptors about the assessments. I'm going to read the intro here for anybody who is listening and doesn't have the screen up. Assessments come in many forms and different types are more effective for measuring specific types of learning. Using a mix of assessment types and methods provides opportunities for students to excel in different ways. Your course probably already includes a combination of two or more of the following types of assessments. So yeah, like I said, usually summative, think of like a big final exam at the end. But we're a technical college, so I think a lot of what we do is performance based. I know Kelly's told us a lot of stories about how he has his students, setting up Linux servers and stuff, and that's specifically focused on their ability to perform a task. So I think we might have a lot of those ones. I tend to gravitate more towards performance. We're meeting together here to talk about the thing, but then you all actually doing what we're talking about. I think I place a lot of value in that one. So if not, if you don't have these kind of assessments, consider how you might add a more balanced mix of assessment types to your course. Also, be careful not to confuse the type of assessment with the method of assessment. For example, self-assessment is a method of assessment that, depending on how it's applied, can be used to measure diagnostic, formative, summative, or performance-based learning. So a self-assessment. That's where you're kind of metacognition, uh, seeing how you are thinking about the process of whatever you're trying to do. Kelly, I see your hand.
Um, yeah, I've seen or I've been in a position where I've given my students like a written quiz and they've not done well at the beginning, at the very start of the quarter. But then I have them try something. Okay, I want you to build this and have it running by Monday. And if you can't, we will go over it together. And
Mm.
then I watch to see who can set it up. Very simple stuff. Build the virtual machine, download Ubuntu 2404, install it as a desktop operating system. Done. And
Yeah.
then and I have students who can't do it. It's okay though. And I tell them that it's okay because on Monday we're going to go over it together. I'm going to
Mhm.
walk everybody through it together. Or I may have a student who did it correctly, ask them, would you like to walk the class through it? And that gives me a great idea of the gap,
Yeah.
kind of where we're sitting. Because we have associate students and we also have bachelor students. So we have students that are coming in with the 90 credits. They want to do the bachelor's, but they may not have the skill set that the students in the associate's degree has because they may have done it a long time ago, or they got their associates in a different discipline. Um, so it really helps those students because it gives me an idea of where they're really sitting before we dive deep into the material, you know?
Yeah. So if you're talking about trying to gauge their level, Kelly, since you're already off mute, can you read what a diagnostic assessment is? Because that's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah. Sure. Diagnostic assessment happens before instruction and is used to gauge learner attitudes or to measure a student's existing knowledge level. Pre-assessment results can help identify gaps in learner knowledge and can help you tailor lesson plans more closely to the specific learner population in your course. An example of diagnostic assessment is asking students to complete a survey about a topic before instruction on the topic begins. One other thing real quick is we meet with most of our students before they come in
Mhm.
to the program like Kat does, right? And she can, just by having a conversation with the student, she knows where they're at. And
Mhm.
then we communicate, the NOS faculty team, we communicate really well about where students are each quarter. And that's kind of a diagnostic assessment. This student is doing really well in this, but not as well in this. So now I know what to focus on. I mean, honestly, without that, it would be so much harder.
Yeah, right. Because then you've got class where somebody is like miles ahead, and then you've got a class where they don't even know how to use a computer. Maybe they should be in like, a different a different program.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think a diagnostic, right? Think of diagnosis, right? If you're
Hmm.
going to the doctor, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions to see, what the problem is with you. In the same way, you're going to ask a bunch of questions, or as Kelly illustrated, give them a task, see if they can do that task. Then that's going to tell you where they fit, and what kind of extra help they might need. Or I really like the example of, if a student is doing it and they can do it well, then having that student then teach the class, because um, nothing shows mastery better than if you can teach it. And
You know
so,
what
yeah,
impresses me too is our students will like they have their own Discord. And the students that are doing well
unofficial
will
Discord.
offer exactly their own Discord, not ours.
Yeah, not
But they'll do a study group together, and it's always the students that do well that'll offer, to help the students.
uh-huh.
And we're cool with that as long as they're not doing the work for them. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
But it's great to see that because obviously it strengthens their knowledge and it helps those that are still or that could be struggling to learn. And then, like on Wednesdays, we have lab days. If they're doing well, I tell them you don't have to come, but you can, because I'm
mhm,
going to be spending my time with the students that may not have hit the goal this week or may
mhm.
need a little bit of help. And it's funny, I get a lot of students that'll show up just to watch,
Oh,
right? They
nice.
just want to see, like, because in IT, there's always three ways to do something. In Windows, there's always three ways to do something.
Right.
And because they do it a different way, doesn't make them wrong as long as they get to the end result.
There you go. And that's the outcome. As long as they can meet the outcome, there's
Right.
multiple ways to do it. But as long as you can show me that you can do it, then
Yep.
that's the most important thing. Okay, great. So that's diagnostic. Thank you, Kelly. Can anybody else in here hop off mute and read about the formative assessments?
I can do that.
Thanks, Derek.
Formative assessment occurs during instruction and is used to monitor a student's progress toward a learning goal. This type of assessment helps students improve their learning by highlighting their strengths and areas they may need to focus on. Formative assessment can also help you improve your teaching by highlighting areas where students may be struggling and would benefit from additional resources, review, or a different way to understand the content. Formative assessments are typically low risk and low stakes, having minimal impact on the student's grade. Some may even be practice or self-check opportunities that have no impact on grades at all. And because formative assessments involve the ongoing practice of new skills, they are frequently left open for multiple attempts. If or when these assessments are counted toward a grade, often only the highest score is preserved. An example of formative assessment is offering frequent, low stakes practice quizzes or other review activities that can be completed multiple times. Other examples are muddiest point style discussion, submitting a rough draft for instructor peer review, simulation based practice games, scenarios, or weekly reflections.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Derek. So formative assessments, um, you can think of this as just kind of like knowledge checks as you're going through your lesson. You want to make sure everybody's on the same page and uh, everybody's understanding it well. Um, I'm gonna highlight this one: low risk and low stakes. Right? Typically low risk and low stakes. You could make a formative assessment um, high risk and high stakes, but I think that kind of misses the point. That's stepping more into summative, like at the end, and you're like you're going to take an exam to see if you really understand this information. This one, formative, like I said, I like these ones. Um, Something like a Kahoot, if you've ever done Kahoot, I use that when I'm with, if I'm teaching ESL students, like I'll have the vocabulary words. We introduce the vocabulary words at the beginning of class, and then we have like a review, Kahoot style quiz game at the end. And I don't grade it. It's kind of like a fun thing for them to do, to see, to check, to see if they understand it well. Um, and then we've got muddiest point style discussions. This is just trying to see where your students are getting stuck. So just kind of like having a discussion. Oh, what don't you understand? How can we help you understand it better? Rough drafts is another one. Um, Simulation-based practice games. Um, so this one, does anybody do simulation-based practice games?
I have some of those.
Yeah, can you tell us
Yeah.
about what you do?
Yeah, so my simulation, that came to mind was some like virtual activities for high risk situations. So, for example, I teach transfusion medicine. So the MLT students are learning how to get blood ready for transfusion. So when you're first learning, there's I don't know. A lot of students are afraid of blood bank because if you if you if you mistype if you perform the testing wrong and get the wrong blood type result and the person is transfused incompatible blood, then they die.
Mm, mm. High
And
risk.
so high risk situations. And so we've talked about that. Like this is student lab. This is your place to screw up and
Hmm.
make those mistakes. And we're practicing. And so the first, so there's these so there's two, now I'm going off in two different directions, but for the simulated or the simulation-based practice games, the lab educators community has recognized that that is a high stress, like high stakes scenario, and they have created open education resources that are simulated.
Nice.
Like so you have and sometimes sometimes they're timed, so you can say, okay, so this is the scenario. It's computer based, so no real people at all. Um, and there's a timer showing how long it's taking you, and you have a goal of like 10 minutes. And if so, but it's a totally safe environment. So that's one thing. And I've had the students do that as a virtual lab activity or just as an assignment, and then it's they will, depending on what it is, they have to just kind of send me a screenshot of the last page kind of thing to show me that you
Mm,
finished it, and that's how they get points or
mm,
credit, I guess I
yeah.
should say. And the other thing is, and this is kind of a mix of formative and performance assessment, but for blood typing, the first time we do it, it's just you did it, or you showed up, you showed up, you did it, you cleaned up,
Mm,
you get full credit. And then as the quarter progresses, where competency and proficiency has started to develop, it's like if okay, so like on the 8th week of the class, if you get the wrong blood type, you get a 0 on the lab. Your patient died.
mm,
But at that point, you've done 25 of them.
yeah. So
So,
you've scaffolded it,
oh
and
yeah.
they've practiced, and they should know it by then.
Exactly. And I've never had anyone get a 0 on the whole lab. There was one time that I did so it's like, okay, so first of all, I mean, we'll correct any errors that were made, and it like there's no penalty kind of thing. And
Mhm.
then the next time we do it, if you mistype a patient, you miss this many points. And then the next time you do it, if you mistype a patient, you miss this many points. And so
Mm,
but I've only ever there's only been one person where I ever had to take points off for mistyping a patient by the time that started. And that's like, we're already 10 in kind of thing. And they
mm,
never did it again. Like this is your place to screw up. Like you can kill
Yeah.
somebody or you can get 10 points off of an assignment. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they'll take the 10 points off of the assignment. They
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure, yeah. I
Yeah.
get it.
So, but anyway, as far as like the simulation-based practice games, that's been the online scenarios for super high risk situations in a safe computer-based environment have been really helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's especially necessary in your type of profession where someone can die if you do get it wrong. You don't want to not practice that, and then when you're out in the field, you're like scared because you don't have that experience. When you have this low risk, low stakes, nobody's really gonna die. Learning is all about making mistakes and figuring out what you did wrong, and then I'm not going to do that one next time. And I love what you're saying about how you kind of ramp it up, right? You ramp the stakes up at the beginning. It's like, okay, would you say you just gotta like
You
say,
show up,
yeah,
I
you like
say,
you show up and then you like did the initial thing. Okay, it's good. Doesn't matter
yeah,
the outcome.
yeah.
But then, later on, once you've gotten the knowledge, then that's when it becomes a little bit more important. So yeah, I like that. And then I've got a couple in chat here. Kelly, can you expand upon capture the flag simulation? Because that sounds really fun.
Yeah, we have labs that we can build or are built into the curriculum where you have a vulnerable server and you're one side is protecting the server while the other side is trying to get into the server. So they refer to
Mm.
that as capture the flag simulations.
Oh, that's fun.
And in one of my classes, I give them the tools to build that if they want to build that. And yeah, it can be fun and frustrating, but they learn and they get feedback from their peers while they're doing it because they work as a team.
Nice. I hear capture the flag. I think about Halo. I don't know if anybody's ever
Right.
played original Halo, but
Yeah, that's the term they use in IT security for practice.
yeah.
So you have a operating system called Metasploitable, and that's the vulnerable one. And then they have tools called Metasploit that you can use to launch against it to try to access it and gain administrative rights or what they call root.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Cool.
fun.
Very cool. Yeah, sounds awesome. And then I've got one more from Kat. Kat, go ahead.
I was thinking, um, no, in what we teach, so IT security, right?
Mhm.
For something like scripting and stuff, people learn a little bit differently in different ways, and everybody learns by doing, of course. But when you have something that if you're teaching on a particular topic, you're actually putting them into a scenario and then guiding them through the whole process. So I encourage them to do these types of challenges where um, it goes from guided to not as guided. So they're put into a situation where, for example, um, they have to just use scripts to or commands to basically navigate over to a location and find a particular file and their knowledge of scripts. And so I can give them the commands that they could be using, or they can, pull it from the information. And then they have to figure out the options with those commands to be able to get to what they're looking for, or to be
Mm,
able to search it instead of graphically using it, which is what we typically are used to doing is just graphically finding information.
mhm.
Um, and so I think of that as that's a type of capture the flag type of thing. And then it gets more difficult as you go along, going from desktop to server.
Mm. Yeah, and
Um,
so kind of once again, scaffolding, right? Just
yes, exactly.
going with the basic and then just working on the skills on uh, working it up. Okay, great. Thank you all for sharing out. I always appreciate real world examples. Let's move on to summative assessments now. And actually, I'm gonna do something I haven't done before, but I'm realizing now that I should do this because I found a workaround. Y'all are here and y'all can see what I got going on. I'm gonna do it this way. Can y'all see my screen right now? Anyone? Let me know if you can see, not my
Yes.
screen.
Yes.
Oh, can you see what
Oh,
I'm
we
typing?
can see it. Dude, I was
Can you see what
muted.
I'm typing in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Now, oh, go ahead, Derek.
I think I was in the same boat as Kelly, and I thought we had already had the week 28 like Zoomer.
Yeah.
Um, so I did complete, and like I did the quiz, and I'm like, oh, I think I must have just forgot to type this one in, and I got credit, and I did not use that word.
Oh
So
my God. Yeah. So there was a bit of a mix up there.
Oh,
And
now you
actually,
tell us.
don't try this right now because for some reason I'm able to be in this course like on this screen, which is like I have like a different account. I have an admin account and I have a regular, and I can't log into my admin right now. So I'm giving this right now. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back into admin, but just maybe write this down for let's say this is week 8, okay? And or sorry, week 28. And
Yeah.
then definitely by Monday it'll be good to go unless I'm just like locked out of Canvas, but I'll try to do it by the end of the day today. So
Dang, Derek, you should have texted us or emailed.
yeah.
well,
What?
I
Well,
didn't.
no, Derek didn't think there was any problem, so
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, like it actually shows that like I completed the quiz. I entered one of the previous week's things,
Oh, I think what happened. So what I tend to do is
copy the quiz.
yeah, no, I copy the quiz from another one, and then I go in and I kind of like update it for whatever the current week is, and I guess I just didn't do a good job doing
No,
that.
no, no, it's all good. I mean, I was just it's on me because I was ahead of schedule, I guess, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Me.
And yeah, we're almost done. I think we're on 28. I got reminded that we have to do 23 because we skipped that one because we were doing like so much about that topic that I wanted to kind of like add it at the end. So we got 28. We'll do 29 next week, 30 the following, and then we should be done in 3 weeks for this course.
So
Um,
23 will be April 25th, right? Week 23 will be April 25th.
yes, 23 is on the 25th,
Cool.
which sounds confusing.
And didn't we skip 23 because the CW, the college-wide learning outcomes were still a draft or something, I thought.
I think it was more like we were doing college-wide learning out. Like I feel like it was very repetitive, like the
Ah,
way that it's structured on the course design checklist, and so yeah, I just wanted to add it later. So, okay, back to what we're working on now, and I'm just going to keep that there for you all in case you haven't seen it yet. Summative assessment. I've got Kat or Tracy. Can one of y'all read about summative assessments? Kat, I see you're off mute.
Yeah, I can do it.
Thank you.
Sorry. The summative assessments frequently appear at the end of a unit of study or at the end of a course and are used to determine the extent to which the student successfully met the learning goal or goals. Summative assessments are typically higher risk, higher stake, focus on the outcome of the student's learning, and give students the opportunity to sum up their learning. Summative assessments usually have a significant impact on the student's grade. However, the student should have had multiple opportunities for formative assessment to practice both mastering the format and recalling the content or concepts on which the summative assessment is based. An example of a summative assessment is giving a final exam or assigning a cumulative paper or project.
Perfect. Yeah, and this is kind of the standard final at the end, just to, as it says here, sum up their learning. Think of summative, it's summing up. I can think about Tracy. I remember a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, I don't know. Before in this course, at some point, you were talking about how you would give them some assessment, but you would give them multiple tries at that assessment, and then is it you would take their highest result? Is that am I
That
remembering
wasn't
correctly?
that wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
No.
can't remember who exactly what it was. It might have been Poppy or Jaya, somebody who hasn't come in a while, but um the so that would be the reason I'm bringing that one up is the where it says here the student should have multiple opportunities for formative and to practice the mastery of the format. And so summative, this is like I can think if your program has some sort of certification exam, a certification exam is like a summative assessment. It's where you're showing that you know all about it. And related would be the performance assessment, which we'll go to in a second. But I see Kelly, you hopped off. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I just put something in the
Oh, in the
chat.
chat.
So I include a vulnerability assessment report in my NOS 205 class, but it's actually the midterm. I don't label midterms and finals, because I have a lot of test anxiety students or students with test anxiety.
Mhm.
And then the report being a vulnerability assessment report, they're looking for vulnerabilities on a server. And then, I require them to find five, right? But they're not all going to find the same five.
Mm.
So, you know what I mean? Some
Mhm.
may find other vulnerabilities, but the important part is how did they do it? What did they use? How did they find that vulnerability? And then documenting the vulnerability and also giving advice on how to resolve the vulnerability,
Oh yeah.
mitigate.
This maybe one of the most important parts.
So,
What's the next step?
right.
Cool, very cool. All right, and I think Tracy, you're left. You could just read this first paragraph here about the performance assessment, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Yeah. Performance assessment, also known as authentic assessment, requires students to apply the knowledge and/or skills they've gained by completing relevant real-world tasks. With performance assessment, students must demonstrate mastery of the required knowledge and skills. You may decide to use this type of assessment to ensure students have mastered the specified learning outcomes, because summative testing alone does not guarantee a student can do something. For example, a student passing a driving knowledge test versus passing the actual driving road test to get their driver's license. An example of performance assessment is a final project in a language class that asks students to record themselves having a conversation in that language. Includes a combination of a self-assessment, diagnostic, formative, summative, and/or performance-based assessment opportunities.
Yeah, and thank you for uh
Their
just
typo, yeah, it's fine.
yeah. Those are mine. That's
Challenge.
from the checklist. I just haven't gone through and reread everything. So yeah, performance assessment, authentic assessment. Maybe y'all have heard that term thrown around before. It's where you're authentically using the knowledge to do something. I think this is the perfect example here when we're going to take a driving test. Okay, I know how to drive. I'm sitting behind a computer and like clicking all this stuff. Okay, I know how to drive. But once you're out on the road, it's like a completely different thing, right? So passing the actual driving road test to get the license, that's showing that you can perform. You can take all the knowledge that you learned and did in the exam, and then you could use that knowledge in an authentic way. Derek.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could crowdsource advice here from
Mhm.
some smart folks. So, in one of my courses, or actually in two of my courses, um, we use a lot of performance assessment where, for instance, like students are going out and measuring stream flow. So they have to be able to use, the tools to measure stream flow.
Mhm.
And there's, you know, eight or nine assignments like that. And then what I do as like a summative assessment or part of the summative assessment for that class is it's not a final exam, it's quiz length. It's a shorter quiz. And it assesses their like knowledge of why, like the purpose of these skills and why these skills are important to measure. But you know, I know back when I was in undergrad, we had like for like when we did fetal pig dissections, we had a lab practical on the, identifying, different organs and whatnot in the fetal pig. Well, not just in the, I think there's other things as well that we dissected. And so I was like thinking like, should I just take them out and for their exam, like for their summative final exam, have them see if they can demonstrate. I won't be able to do all 10 skills, right? Or all 10 things. That
Mhm.
would be a lot to do, but have them do. So, like, I've gone back and forth on this, but the reason I've stuck with the final quiz, the written final quiz, is because I do think that's important for them to understand why we do it and why it's important environmentally.
Yeah.
So I was curious, given those two options, what people think.
Which one you should go with?
Yeah.
Derek, I use both. So for all of my didactic classes for the MLT students, they have a pass-fail competency assessment on a basic lab skill for that's associated with that course. And it's timed. So for we just finished microbiology, they had to do 10 gram stains in 10 minutes. And this, well, and so it usually I would do like 10 gram stains in half an hour, but for reasons, I ended up having to do pictures online. So it was, you had 1 minute to look at this picture basically and report out how you would in the lab a gram stain result. And those are pass fail. They have 3 chances to pass it, but they have so that and then so and it's like they're not scored, it's pass fail.
Mm.
Um and I but I so I think as far as I mean, I think if it was an essential skill that for your that would to meet your course learning outcomes, I think you could still do both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
I
is
Yeah.
mean,
bo- is
it
both
maybe
an
like
option, Derek?
It could be. It would be tight
yeah.
to fit it in to do both. And to be clear, like the students, they are being assessed on these skills. But I don't expect them to do it perfect the first time, right? But that's why I have them repeat. Like when we're out doing stream flows, I don't just have them do it once, right? Like they're running the instrument multiple times. In fact, that's sort of part and parcel of obtaining an accurate stream flow. But my thought is like assessing, did they retain how to do it? And
That
then I
was
go back to, well, does it like some of these instruments that we're using to do these measurements, they're not like there's 50 different brands and they all work differently. So does it matter if they remember how to do it with this brand, or is it more important that they understand the concept and why it's important to measure stream flow type of deal?
mhm.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I said, I go back and forth, but they are being assessed. It's just, and it is sort of in like, I don't do pass fail. It's worth 10 points. And basically to earn those 10 points, like you have to show up, participate, and do the work and answer the post lab questions correctly. If you miss a couple of the post lab questions, you might get an 8 out of 10 type of deal.
Mm.
Um, because they have the time and they can ask me questions about the post lab questions. I'm not just throwing them to the wolves type of deal. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly?
Sometimes, Derek, I'll have the students do a task and then I'll ask them to document it, but not document the task is per se. How did you do it? I want you to write something to tell somebody else who doesn't know how to do this how you do this.
I like
And
that.
then yeah, and honestly, I'll hang on to it for the future classes. So if someone goes, I don't know how to do this, I go, here, read this.
Yeah,
That's good. Maybe I could, and actually on my final quiz, I do have a couple questions like that. Like, what tool do we use to do this task? Or we want to do this task, explain how we do it, right? So maybe
Right.
I just need to transition some of the questions on my final quiz into that format.
Mm,
I like that idea.
Cool.
I do like the idea of like a practical, right? Like an actual hands-on practical, but I also, like I said, I think it's really important they understand why they're doing what they're doing
mm,
as well. And a written exam can help assess that, you know.
yeah.
So that's kind of a good segue into a question I was hoping to ask this group as well. Um, because I am looking at redoing how I grade labs, because right now it is very like, did you get the right answer, and that kind of thing. And I'm trying to shift because I have in my grade um, breakdown for the didactic courses, the lab portion of the course is worth the same amount percentage wise as the lecture portion. And so I feel like the why are we doing this and how are we doing this, that's getting covered very well in lecture. And I want them to, I want their lab portion to reflect, can they do it? And I don't feel
Mm.
like it is right now. And so I was um, going to ask how all of you are assessing, or I mean grading a performance-based assignment.
I mean, but you have rubrics, I'm assuming for
Well,
your.
so I don't have a I mean yes, but it's not um I don't like it. It's not it's a rubric in that it's like okay, so professionalism, which they know is you have to show up, you have to get your lab coat on, you have without prompting, like you clean up your workspace, decontaminate your bench, that kind of thing. That's worth this many points.
Mhm.
Doing the lab activity and recording your results is worth this many points, but it's not really a rubric like excellent performance, satisfactory performance, that
Mm.
kind of thing. And I actually kind of want to do it that way.
Why not just add a like task performance criteria into your existing rubric and then
Yeah,
have have it be excellent, meets expectations, does not meet.
right.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean yeah, the my approach for like lab-based activities in terms of grading is, participation, like active participation in and like because a lot of my labs, the students are working together because almost
Mm-hmm.
because they have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they like you have to actively participate. And if you that's 66% of a lab grade, like two-thirds of the lab grade. And then the other third is I have post lab questions, right? So
Yeah.
well, I should say active participation in the lab and also like, you know, recording the data correctly, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
like if they completely mess up the like what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to record the data, they will lose points there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, if you want to include the performance metric, like I, it might not be the best way, but perhaps at least a transition way would be to just add that criteria to your existing rubric.
Yeah. I like that idea. What I'm finding with, because I have post lab questions as well, and but what I'm finding is students, like I have told them, I mean, I'm using expired reagents. They don't work the way they should all the time, you know? I mean, because these are donated supplies from industry, and that's fine. But what I have told them, like, I am never, ever going to take points off of an assignment where your results did not turn out because of something that was outside of your control.
Yeah.
And, um, that so I kind of want like my post lab questions to be like, okay, so did your reagents work or not, and why? Because that's
Mm,
actually really valuable to know why they didn't.
yeah.
But what I'm finding is that they'll say, well, what what were the results I was supposed to get? And I'll write that down because I don't want to miss points on my lab result portion. And it's just like it doesn't matter how many times I tell them that I'm not going to take off points. Like and honestly, like I've been doing a lot of professional development stuff the last probably 6 months on alternative grading strategies where and I really want to move that direction and I just don't have the bandwidth to do it right now, but it's where it's just like I don't care what your points are. You're going to kill people if you don't understand. You just
Yeah.
are. So I almost want to get rid of my I don't know. I think I'm struggling with that. Like how can I because
Um,
and I've told them like my first responsibility is to patient safety.
mhm.
Even I mean even as an educator. So um
Tracy, do you have that in your syllabus?
I don't. I just saw and that's a really good idea.
I
Um
put that in mind because that happens. It does. And
yeah.
I want them to know I'm not going to dock you. Like I used to use this online curriculum and online labs, and sometimes they would get really wonky and the students would freak out. I tell them, don't worry about it. And they'd still freak out. Well, I'm not getting the points. So I would
Yeah.
then go in and put the points in and they'd still freak out. So then I finally put it in my syllabus. At times this could happen, and I will not deduct points for that, for that assignment, as long as you can tell me, for example, like what the outcome should have been, or
Right.
you know what I mean.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it helped. It helped. They stopped
Okay.
bugging me about it.
Yeah.
You might want to talk to Eric Stokes. Do you know Eric Stokes? He works at the college, and I met with him and Deanna Faraday to record a podcast where we were talking about ungrading. Was
Hmm.
that covered in the professional development that you've been looking at?
Yeah.
You sound not interested in it.
No, I am. But so the thing
Like,
is, like,
meh, yeah.
the thing is, like, I have completely rebuilt the entire MLT curriculum
Yeah,
in the last 15 months, and
and you don't want to do it
I
again.
I don't want to do it again.
I could,
Also, but the other part of it is I'm just about to start the program's reaccreditation. And so
oh,
that
okay.
was like I don't have the bandwidth to do it. And I was
I got you.
so but it also just from like an equity standpoint, I want to do it so badly. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, but I don't know Eric Stokes. What what's their
I believe he is biology. Like
okay.
Chemistry.
what is it?
Oh, okay.
Chemistry.
Oh, I do know Eric. I've interacted with him
Chemistry.
once at
Hmm.
how to get rid of my chemicals
Yeah.
seminar.
Uh, yeah, Tracy, my advice, like, yeah, I get it because like I've like my energy to make like to do big curriculum changes has been like bleh, because just spent all of last year building
It's a
for
lot of
brand
work.
new classes
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the bachelor's program, right? Ton of work, right? But so here's the thing about like we should constantly be striving to improve our courses, right? Even if it's just small things.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, like you're exhausted right now. Yeah, take the break,
Hmm.
right?
Mm.
And then you have this idea of what you'd like to do. You can tackle that in the future. In the interim, from a grading standpoint, yes, you can communicate to students. This is the way I currently have my grade system set up. My first of all, I want you to learn. I am here to teach you. That's
Mm.
my number one A job. Number one
Hmm.
B job is student or is patient safety.
Hmm.
Mm.
So that's another piece of the assessment. And just be very clear with them how they are actually going to be earning their grade. And you can keep the current grading and still incorporate aspects of that, of equitable,
Hmm.
grading practices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my assignment for this professional development, like for this course, for this performance indicator, is going to be tweaking the lab rubric, because that feels like a really low or an easy way. It's like altering something I already have feels like a step in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
small incremental changes. And actually,
yeah.
speaking of that, I love the conversation that's going on here. I love that we can kind of work together and get that. Unfortunately, it's already 2 o'clock, man. Time flies when we're talking about fun stuff.
But
So,
this is
uh,
fun. We're
yeah, I
learning.
know.
We are
It does.
learning. Yeah.
I love this conversation. Unfortunately, I have to go, and I can leave, and y'all can keep talking. But I would rather let's pick this up next time. If you guys are all, if you can come next week, same time, same place. These are the assignments here. Speaking of assignments, y'all can work on those for next time. And we'll just cover 3.3b next time, and we'll just tack it on to the other stuff that we need to cover next week, because some of you might need to go, and I definitely need to go. So thank you all.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks,
Cool.
Appreciate
everybody.
Thank
y'all.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
won't be here next week. I'll be, hopefully by this time, I will be in Bristol, Tennessee, getting ready to watch the Bristol races.
Oh, no
Cool.
way. You
As long as
punk.
you don't say Cancun or Hawaii,
Hey,
Well,
Derek,
because
it
you're gonna have
is
to take me
slightly
with you to
warm,
go and analyze that environment.
right?
all right,
So
y'all. It was good to
have
talk with
fun.
you.
All
Yep. See
right.
y'all next
Thanks.
Have
time.
a good
Bye.
afternoon.
All right.